Hello, everybody. I'm back. Wardrobe change. Shout out to my man, ex-man Xavier Smith for coming on and talking with me. Previous interview. You can check me out on the Millions streaming network. You can find that episode and 4 more interviews. So just waiting for my man Brent Williams to log on. He's in the green room. So just waiting for him to uh, click OK. So just give me a couple seconds here. Hey, shout out to my to my family, Micah Parsons, and of course his dad Terrence Parsons, Micah Harrisburg High School athlete, GOAT, 717 GOAT, Pennsylvania GOAT, however you want to title it. He had his number retired today at Harrisburg High School. And actually, probably more importantly, he's been here, I think, several days so far. I know he's had free training sessions with kids, and he had a free youth football camp. I know at State College last night. Oh, he had a youth camp at State College last night and a free youth camp at John Harris High School earlier today. I got to stop there for like an hour, so couldn't stay long because I had to work, but got to see him, his pops. Shout out to both of them. Congratulations. Definitely proud of you. And he plays for my favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys. So don't don't none of y'all hit the dislike button. Let's give it a couple seconds. Uh B-Dub. I can hear you. I can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
Says microphone is on.
Perfect.
You can hear me now?
Absolutely. It's perfect.
All right. Man,
Okay.
we're high
Yeah.
tech now, man. I remember when, we used to do this with an iPhone, man. What the heck?
Yeah, I had to step my game up a little bit. I've had 5 practice interviews, so we good to go.
All right. Hold
Definitely
on
good
one
to go.
second. Let me just pull
So
that door out of the way. Hold on one second.
yeah.
All right.
In fact, I just did an interview with another kid, so I had to do my wardrobe change. I had to throw on. I had to throw
Appreciate
on. I probably wear this shirt way too much, but it's all good.
it.
Hey, what's
All
up,
good.
everybody? Introduce myself again. My name is Ed O'Brien. This is the We Run the State podcast. He's not going to like this, but I got a special guest. It's someone I'm honored to have on my podcast. As always, had a chance to know him over the last 10 years. Someone I think of as a big brother, and more importantly, someone whose ministry includes helping athletes across the nation, achieve their goals on the football field, and along with that, also giving out lessons and advice on how to become better, better players, a better son, a better friend, better teammate, better classmate. My man, 50 grand, and I think what's that? Flint, Michigan's finest.
Uh, I'm not even in Flint, Michigan's top 10, bro. But I'm honored to be from Flint. Yeah, I had to take my Flint shirt off just now and put on the Next Gen shirt. So, but I'm always repping my hometown, man. That is very proud to be from Flint. Very proud to be amongst the athletes that have come out of the city of Flint. So, appreciate you recognizing my hometown.
Absolutely. In fact, I had to Google that just to make sure I wasn't out of turn, but I should know better by now. The
Yeah,
the show was 2 weeks ago, so just off the top, have you been able to get some rest in the
yeah.
last
It
couple of days?
is. Every year after the show, I shut down everything. And for the way it ended up this year, the way the show ended, my wife and I had a little vacation. So right after the event, we drove down to Savannah, which it was a city that we've never really spent time in. We went down there and took in the history of that area. It was one of the best vacations that we had. And then we had a family reunion with her side of the family in Charlotte. And then we came home. And this week we're heading to a family reunion on my side of the family in Texas. And
Wow.
so it's been great to get away from football, but it's also kind of refreshing. You start to get new ideas and new thoughts on the direction you want to go, how you can do more, what we can do to be better. And so, every now and again, I'll call Armani, our general manager, as you know, and we'll talk about some different things that we didn't do well or that we want to do better or how we can get better. And so we've had some really good conversations, but they've been brief. So I'm trying to spend less than an hour a day on next gen stuff during the next few weeks. We will reopen registration again in August, and we're
Okay.
already starting to get ready for 2026. Yeah.
And that's why I didn't want to quote unquote bother you until about
Yeah.
August as far as it goes, but I appreciate you
Right.
taking the time. Shout out to my man Armani. You'll get that fifth star one
Yeah.
day. But
Absolutely.
so I know the story, and you
Yeah.
don't have to. You can briefly get into it.
Mhm.
Let's start with Next Gen, the camp itself. I think I've been with you guys. I'm sorry, I've been a part of Next Gen probably for the last 7 years, I believe. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
what for the audience? What inspires you to start the Next Gen camps, and how did the vision for the camps come together, or the camp come together? I'm sorry.
Real simple. When I went through the recruiting process with my kids, my oldest Brennan, who is an AEW wrestler now, but he went to the University of North Carolina, played there for 4 years, was a third round draft pick of the Houston Texans, played in the league, bounced around the league for a bit. My second son and my godson Armani both played at Ohio State. And my daughter was a basketball player at Penn State. So I had been a parent on the recruiting side of this game, the recruiting side of this industry. And one of the things that I started to recognize was, what could we do to try to help more kids? How could we go about putting together a program that would create an exposure platform for elite football prospects? And it started out with just the idea of, we recognized that schools were starting to pay attention to kids earlier. And so when we first started this thing, it was really about finding elite middle school up to freshman athletes. And now it's kind of grown year by year to where we deal with kids from seventh grade all the way up to their junior year. But the idea was really just to create a platform for kids to get seen. And it started with the idea of kids from like under recruited areas. How can we kind of level the playing field for a kid from Massachusetts in a state that only averages like 10 Division I scholarships a year? How can that kid get on a platform to play against a kid from Florida or from Texas or Georgia or Ohio or California And those aren't random states. Those are the top 5 recruiting states. So how can we level that playing field? How can we create a platform for that? And my son, during his playing days, we kind of thought about, our goal would be to find the next generation of great football players, hence the name NXGN. And that's where, it started out with a little camp in Taunton, Massachusetts, with like 120 kids, and now we evaluate almost 5,000 kids a year, which is a really cool experience, across multiple platforms and multiple event types. So it's grown tremendously, but it's been really a really cool experience.
You know what, and you touched on it. I think it's great that athletes, from those under-recruited states like, Massachusetts in particular, Rhode Island, because I'm
Yeah.
sorry, get to compete against athletes from these football talent-rich states,
Right.
the California,
Right.
Texas, things of
Absolutely.
that. Because, as I went through some film and things like that, from the show, it was a couple
Hmm.
kids from those states that stood out at the
Right.
camp, and I think that's a great thing for them. I'm pretty sure it boosts up their confidence, and it helps to get
Yeah.
more eyes on them, when you have people looking for results from events such as yours. And
Hmm.
in regards to that, talk about how next gen has evolved since its early days in terms of, reach, format, and talent level.
Right. Definitely. So the thing that I like to say, and I'm still in the line from the infamous Coach Cat, you either get exposure or you get exposed. And that's just real talk. I mean, there's a lot of kids from small states that have come and they're like, I'm the best kid in my state. I'm the best player in my state. I'm going to go down there and dominate. And then all of a sudden they get there and they see, oh man, there's a different level. I need to go back home and go to work, or I need to go find another sport to play. And we're good with either. It doesn't matter to me. If you go back home and go to work and come back better, that's great. If you go find the soccer field and say football ain't for me because them dudes down in Texas and Georgia, they ain't playing, I'm good with that too. But the goal here is for those athletes to get on a platform to see where they are. So you said, what's the difference now compared to where we are? When we first got started, I look back at some of the kids who come through our camps early on. I call them the walk on water generation, because we didn't have a track record. There was no like, oh, we've got Tyler Booker, who was a first round draft pick for the Dallas Cowboys, or we got Travion Henderson. There was nobody to kind of look out to those kids and say, oh, if I go to next gen camp, this might help me get some exposure. Now we have a track record. So now better kids are coming. Now we have partners like Adidas, like Verified Athletics, that provide exposure where we didn't have that in the beginning. We were just like, hey, we're going to have this camp. Guys like Ed O'Brien are going to come out. They're going to tell the story of these kids, and it's going to hopefully create an opportunity for them to get exposure. That's all we had. Now we've got a history, we've got a track record, we've got players that have competed in our events and that we can showcase. Okay, this is what happens when you do really well. It's not going to be a secret. If you come to one of our camps and do well, we now have a platform that allows you to that ensures that your recruiting will not be a secret.
All right. And the next question, because I get this a lot, and it's like, okay, I got the man that can give you the answers. Now, I do get asked, what about next gen camps? So I'll ask you. I could probably answer this. I can answer this as well. I do answer this, but I'm
I'm
not going
sure
to do
you
it on this
could.
podcast.
Okay.
If I, because I know. But what sets next gen apart from other national camp circuits in terms of structure and athlete development? Because we all know there's all kinds of camps. There's
Hmm.
just exposure camps. There's just um, instructional camps.
Hmm.
There's just camps. So
Right.
talking about next gen, what sets next gen apart from everyone else?
Well, I think the first thing that sets us apart I'm not taking shots at any camp, so we're not in that space. But I've had my shine. I was blessed to play 11 years in the National Football League. My son, who is my partner in this, was blessed to play in the NFL as well. Has his shine. It ain't about me. I'm not trying to be the guy that's in front. I'm not trying to be the guy. My camps are about the kids that come to the camps. It's not about me. So that's one difference. The second difference, and we learned this when we started the six. We had the great fortune of having a relationship with Tom Brady's uh, team at TB12 and his business partner Alex Guerrero. And one of the questions that came up when we were meeting with them when we were trying to put together the six, which is our quarterback camp, was okay. You got all these great football players coming together. What are you going to do to make them better off the field? What are you going to do that's going to make them better people? What are you going to do to make them more influential? And that kind of hit home because it's really easy to get a bunch of good football players together, and it's really easy for them to leave better football players or more competitive or more aware of the challenges that they might face. But what can we do as a camp whenever we do any one of our elite camps? Can't always do it in a regional. If all they do is leave better football players, we failed. We have absolutely failed because we had a chance to bring those kids together and make them better people. So I say it at the beginning of every camp. We pray before every camp. I view it as a ministry. I know how football touched and changed my life. And our goal with our camps is to touch and change the lives of those people who attend it. And we realize that there's a trickle down effect on that. So if the doors that were open for me allowed me to open doors for someone else, hopefully they will open doors for other people. And this chain will keep going and keep growing. So I say all that to say, really simply, the difference between us and them, and I use this analogy, it's a horrible analogy. I'm going to say it right now. It's a horrible analogy. It's like a gang. Once you're in the next gen family, you're in it forever. And I spoke to Tyler Booker's dad this week. That kid has not been to a next gen camp in 8 years. I talked
Wow.
to his dad this week about something that Tyler Booker is connected to, hopefully that we can help him with, hopefully that we can build on. And once you're in the next gen family, you're in it forever. And I will call you anytime. You can call me anytime to discuss something that you're going through, whether it is life challenging, football challenging, whatever, you're in. And I had this conversation with, and you know this story, is I had this conversation with Cameron, my second son, who is now he's the director of personnel for the Denver Broncos. He's kind of climbed up the scouting ladder over the last 10 years or so. And so he just started with the Denver Broncos. He was the director of college scouting for the New England Patriots. And now he's with the Broncos. And I had this conversation with him about a kid named Nolan Smith. And they were interviewing Nolan Smith pre-draft before he went into the draft. And Nolan said, or Cameron asked him, does he remember attending Next Gen Camp? And Nolan looked at him puzzled and said, yeah, why would you ask me that in a draft interview? And he said, well, my dad started Next Gen Camp. And Nolan said, oh my gosh, tell your dad he changed my effing life. And so when we look at the impact that we have or the opportunity that we have to touch to change the lives of kids, that's what we want to see. We have relationships and we want to make sure that those relationships go well beyond the football field. And I'm not taking shots at any other camp because there's other camps that may do that. All I can speak for is what our camp does and what we try to accomplish in what we do.
And you know what? I feel you as far as once you're in the next gen fam, you can't get out because unless I have something else to do, I can't tell
Yeah.
you no, B-Dub, so
No,
you already know how that
appreciate it.
goes.
No, and you know what? A lot of people they take shots at like the recruiting sites or people. And I tell you all the time, I said, you're the hardest working man in this industry, man. You will go to any camp. You're about trying to find and tell the stories of these kids. And I don't think that people realize how impactful that is on these kids and their opportunities for guys like you to do a write up on them or for them to gain exposure. One of the questions that you touched on was what's the difference between next gen now and next gen then? I think the biggest thing is our reach. And I mean, this week I met with 3 different sports agents that are like mega agencies to talk about NIL opportunities for kids who come through our camps. That's a whole nother level of trying to impact the lives of these kids. It's like there was no NIL when we started this thing. Nobody ever heard of it, you know? So now we're trying to figure out what's the best way for a kid who comes to our camp that gains exposure. How do we get that kid connected with trustworthy people
Mhm.
that can help him manage his name, image, and likeness? So that's a big difference.
And you know what? And that was one of the questions I was gonna ask you about as far as, definitely in the last couple of years, and I not probably last few years, and NIL has become a huge thing. I'm sorry. And I was gonna
Hmm.
ask how that's affected, next gen camp wise, and you
Yeah.
just touched on it.
Right. Well, I mean, I just look at it, NIL is in high schools now. So it's important for these kids to understand how to build their brand, how to take care of their brand. And I think we're putting a lot on the kids. So the things that we're trying to do around NIL is not just say, hey, just get this kid a deal or let's connect him with an agent that can get him a deal. That's not it. It's about educating and trying to make sure that we put the kids in the position that when they make some money that it's one thing to get the bag, but you got to keep the bag, you got to hold the bag, you got to invest the bag, you got to make sure that you manage it properly. So just trying to give them as much, and their parents and their families, as much information as possible. I think one of the other cool things that we did that we put as a part of the 5-star event is, with all the pressures that we're putting on these kids and all the things that we're doing, um, I think one of the things that we're not recognizing is the impact on the mental health of these kids and the pressures that they're under. So during our first 5-star event, we brought a sports psychologist in to talk about managing their mental health and understanding how to get help and how to ask questions, how to take care of themselves, how to decompress and get away from it and take some of the pressure off of the kids, because all of a sudden you've got kids that are being offered $1 million to move from one state to another. And the family is like, you know, this is more money than our family makes. How do we manage that? How do we deal with that? And now the kid becomes the lead breadwinner in the family, and he's a sophomore in high school. That's a challenge, man. That's like, that's real stuff. That's a lot of pressure on the kid. So we just want to be different that way. We want to make sure that what we do takes care of kids both on and off the field. That it's not just about exploiting kids, gaining exposure, building our camp. I don't care how many followers I have. That's not about me. I care about how many followers NextGen has, because I want people to know about the kids who come through our camps, because it might create opportunities for them. But me personally, it's not us. It's not what we do. So that's that's kind of how we try to differentiate ourselves. Is it's about the kids that come to our camps.
And I think that's great. You touched on the fact that you had a mental health component.
Hmm.
I think that's overlooked too. And actually, probably the last couple interviews I've done with kids, I like to ask them, if they once they've committed, how do they feel afterwards? It's like this big weight has been lifted off of their shoulders, and
Yeah.
it's tell in their face like it was a stressful time
Right.
period.
Right.
I get to wonder sometimes, like, did they actually, get to talk about it or,
Right.
things of that nature. I think it's great that, you guys touch on that.
Yeah.
Speaking of the five-star pro day, let's talk a little bit about the different events that you have,
Hmm.
uh, actually coming up, this 2026 camp season.
Yep.
First, what are the names of the events that you'll be holding in 2026?
Okay. So one of the things that Armani and I have talked about is this is our job. We've got to do a better job of messaging. And so this is a great point to, great question for you to ask. One of the things that you get caught up in the busyness of going from camp to camp to camp. And I think that we need to explain what we do differently so that people understand, okay, what is the show? What is the regional camp? What are the private pro days? And what is the five-star event? So if you looked at our events from 30,000 feet, it looks like we're just running a bunch of camps. It's not that way. So the first introductory way to get into a next gen camp is one of our regional camps. Those are paid events. You pay to go to those events. We try to make them as affordable as possible. We're not trying to kill it, but to travel all over the country, to pay coaches, to hire staff, to bring folks in, buy gear, all that stuff. We have our paid camps. The second thing that we have is our feature event. So if you're one of the best players at our regional camps, you can earn an invitation to what we call our feature event. The shirt you're wearing right now is the show. So the show features the top performers from all of the camps that we do around the country. We bring those kids in, and that's the platform for a kid from Massachusetts or a kid from Rhode Island or a kid from Idaho to get ready to get on the field with a kid from Texas, California, Georgia, Florida, Ohio. That's their platform, and that's an opportunity for them to compete. That's called the show. Now we have a couple different events that we've done a little differently this year. This past year, we partnered with Adidas, and we ran what's called private pro days, and those are highly selective, invitation only. We have to view you as a college football prospect, and we only want between 50 to 75 kids at those events. And those events are couple things. One, there's no cost to attend those. You have to be selected to get into those events. We do select kids from our regional camps. That's one way. The best way to get selected is if you're ranked or covered or rated by one of the major ranking services. We run those events. That's a one-day event. But what we did last year, which was a real cool experience, is we tied those events into college visits. So on Saturday, a bunch of athletes that are going to be participating in our private pro day, they go and visit. They visited Boston College, they visited Texas A&M, they visited the University of Miami, they visited Indiana, they visited where were we at? We were in Florida, USF, they visited Louisville. All of those different schools that we had tied in these visits. This year, we're going to have different schools that are a part of this visit routine, and we'll announce that in August. But those kids got to go to those visits, get to know the staff, and then what we did was we put together video from the private pro day, and we distribute that to over 300 colleges. Because what we want to do, one, most of those kids have offers. Some of those kids were trying to get on the radar and get offers, but the goal there was to increase their exposure so that more schools than just the schools in their area, because all those videos go to everyone. And so that gave them an opportunity to be seen there. The biggest event that we run, or the toughest event that we run to get into, is our is the next five-star pro day. There's only 100 kids that get to go. That event will take place in January this year. It'll be the first major event of the season. There's going to be 100 kids in the class of 2028. Those
Okay.
invitations start going out August 1st. So we're going to pick 100 kids in the class of 2028, and we might pick 15 to 20 kids in the class of 2029 that are elite that we've identified. I mean, there's a kid out of Texas that's a 2029 kid. I'm going to throw his name. His name is Noah Tarrant. He's a 2029 grown man. Okay.
Gotcha.
This is a kid that came. He was supposed to come to our Texas camp. He couldn't make the date work. He came to our Boston event. Literally not one offer, nothing. And this kid has blown up. He's got Texas A&M now. He's got 10 to 15 offers already. He's a 30 offer kid, and he's a 2029 kid. That's the kind of kid that will get an invitation to the 5-star event. When we say, now there's a difference. The 5-star event, when we bring you into that, we cover that. Our
Okay.
partners cover that event. We bring you in, we travel, we cover your travel, we cover your hotel. We give you a really cool experience. We give you elite gear from our sponsors and partners, and that's a special event to be a part of. Armani came up with the idea, and we've been kicking this around. So his point was, okay, we got 100 kids coming in. There might be like 120. We need to allow 30 kids that we think can compete with those kids to get into that event, so that we make sure that we stay with our core messaging, that we find freaks early, that we identify kids that nobody knows about, but we think are special. So that's one of the things that we're trying to figure out a way to work around. After the invitations go out to the first 100, we probably will open the door to evaluate kids to be a part of that event that might not be on anybody's recruiting radar just yet, but they will be. So those are our events. 5-star Pro Day, that is the best of the best in the country. Our private pro days, we do 10 of those regionally. We tie those to schools and visits. The show, which is our feature event from our regional camps, and then our regional camps is what we do. So all of those things, it sounds like we're doing a whole lot, but the reality is that each one of those things are separate categories of events. And
Absolutely.
ultimately, it becomes a funnel where we're taking, large numbers of athletes that go to our regional events and funneling them down to an elite group of players that are going to be a part of, our most select events.
Well, I know that, athletes definitely appreciate you explaining the different events, and I'll be able to
Mm-hmm.
replay that whole segment. That's a great explanation of all the camps. So
Man,
as
yeah,
as everybody has heard, they'll be sending out the first invites August 1st. So I'm pretty sure they'll
yeah,
have information on, how to one, sign up for a regional camp or,
yep,
qualify for one of the other camps as well. So
yeah,
speaking of the camps, real quick, because I hear you say this a lot, this particular statement, being good is good enough as far as athletes, when they make a good
yeah,
play at a camp. I've been at
right,
different places and, kids get a little excited, boisterous, things of that nature. Here's where I'm going with
yeah,
that question because, when evaluating athletes, I try to I tell athletes that come to, my particular camps or just when I'm at camps, it's not just what you do on the field performance wise.
mm-hmm,
Everything is being evaluated. Um,
right,
can you talk about what you have your other coaches look for in an athlete beyond, just the physical talent when you're evaluating
yeah,
them at a
right. I think the line being good is good enough, being great is great enough. It just came to me after an event, after a kid made a great play, and everybody was oohing and ahhing over this play. And then he stuck the ball in the kid's face, and that play went from being a great play to a penalty that could cost that kid the national championship. So I think in this social media age and era where everybody is looking to get clicks or looking to get attention that way, I think we've gotten kind of out of control as it relates to disrespecting our opponents. The kid he was going against was giving his all, and his all wasn't as good as the other guy's all. And that's okay because we're out here both competing. But I don't ever want to be in a place where I'm disrespecting someone. I don't want to be in a place where I'm disrespecting, the name of the camp, the name that, of my team jersey, the name of my school. I don't want to be known for that. And then the thing that I'm trying to get across to the kids is really good programs don't tolerate that. You can't do that at Ohio State. One of the reasons that Jeremiah Smith is so special is that the kid is great on the field and he's respectful off the field. And so when you look at some of these kids when they come to your camps, and I see the post, I see videos from other camps where, they're tapping you on the head or, they're pulling down the pants. Is that real football? Is that where we are? And I understand. Oh, but it got clicks. It got views. You know what? It can get views in another camp jersey. Because, you've been at a camp where we have told the kid he had to leave. It's not about you. It can't be where you're disrespecting someone else in order to, all you got to do is make a great play. That's it. That's good enough. And so we've told kids, hey, I appreciate your effort, but I'm sorry, you're going to have to leave. And parents get upset and they, oh, you're picking on my son. No, we just don't tolerate disrespect because it's so much about what we are trying to build in these young men. In the brief time that we have them, we're trying to build and just instill some character, enhance what the characters that their parents are trying to do, and try to build on that so that as they build their brands, because now what it used to be about, oh, this is an embarrassing moment for this kid, now it means real money because we've got sponsors and partners that want to endorse you, give you money, life-changing money, that if you are not doing the right things, man, you could cost yourself money. And eventually, that's what we try to, do. I have a lot of accomplishments, and I joke with my kids on this. I have a lot of accomplishments that I had in the NFL. I was blessed to play 11 years. One of my most proudest accomplishments, and I was not like an angel player, man. There's highlight films of me doing some crazy stuff, but I never tried to disrespect anybody. And one of my most proudest accomplishments is I never got fined. I never got fined for being late. I never got fined for being overweight. I never got fined from doing something dirty. I never got fined for any of that stuff. So what I made, I was able to try to keep, man. So just trying to get the kids to get that, to understand that that's part of the deal.
All right, let's get back, if you don't mind, getting back to the show. This the past event in Atlanta. How and I love all the coaches. I love all the
Yep,
coaches. It's like a big family reunion every
it
time.
is.
I get to
Yep,
come every year. Shout out to my man Boston, Larry, and AJ, and the crew,
yep.
and Headshot, and my boys, and AJ. But how have you been able to basically get together a great coaching staff and getting it able to? I'm sorry, being able to get them to buy into your vision, which is, I'm pretty sure, part of their vision,
Right,
and
right.
get them to
Yeah.
come together in
Uh,
a span of 2 to 3 days and get all these teams together, the schedule, the
right,
lineman events, like, it's just so much going on.
right. I
How
mean,
you get
if I start naming names, I know that I'm going to leave someone out. But there's just like this. There is a cool family vibe with our core coaches that work pretty much all of our events.
Mhm.
And once the standard has like been set, especially like at the show, guys like, I'm going to use like Keefe Pearson, who is one of the top youth football coaches in the country. He tells me every year, I'm not missing the show. I schedule my summer around the show. And, I look at a guy like that who could be doing some other things. Um, I mean, Jonathan Hadnot has been with us since our first year, our third camp. And, those are core guys. AJ and those guys, Madi, all of those guys have just been a part of our core group of coaches that over the years have been a part of what we've been able to build. And they kind of set the standard of how our coaches are going to work with kids or what have you. I look at a guy like Brandon Tucker, who coaches defensive linemen, and he runs our Trench King, and Torian Wilson, who helps run the Trench King Challenge with the offensive and defensive linemen. Both of those guys coach and train guys for the NFL draft. Brandon Tucker has had like 15 first or second round picks in the last 4 to 5 years. He's had 3 rookies of the year, defensive rookies of the year in the last 5 years. And it's like that guy makes it a point to come out and coach at my camp. How humbling is that? I mean, and it's not like, oh my gosh, we're paying you a ton of money or we're paying you what they pay you to develop. No, he's like, I want to be a part of this. I love this. I love watching the babies grow. I love watching them being a part of that. So to have coaches like that to be on our staff is humbling. I think it's really, really special that over the years that what they've been able to do and help me identify elite players, because I can't see everybody. I'm at a camp. I don't see everybody on the field. But those guys, they know talent. They know what it takes. They know what good players look like. And then they take it a step further by embracing the vision of we don't want just good players. We want good kids. We want kids that are going to represent this brand well. So when we select a kid to go to the All-America game or to be a part of that, we take that seriously. We had an opportunity to select a kid this past year, and in Wesley Wynn from California, who's a Boston College commit. He was the kid that we selected from to play in the Navy All-America Bowl. We have a selection every year. We have nominees that we put in every year. Last year, we had 14 kids that played in the game. We had 20 kids that played in the UA game that have been a part of our program. And so we're trying to push kids out. But we also want to be proud that they're going to represent the brand of NXGN when they get out and play. They're going to be good. They're going to be great players, but they're also we're not going to hear something that's negative. That kid is the kind of kid that we want to represent our brand. He's a great football player, but he's a great kid. And at the end of the day, he's going to make a difference both on and off the field in his high school, at Boston College when he goes there, and he's going to make an imprint on the people at the All-America Bowl, the Navy All-America Bowl on NBC, and it's going to be a big deal that he does really well. The cool thing about him is this is a young man that came to our camp during COVID. He was visiting his grandmother in New Jersey from California, came to our camp, and has been a part of our camp every year since. So this is how stuff like that touches home. So he's at the camp, and his dad will tell you the story. My son Cameron, who's the NFL scout, goes over to this kid, gives him his MVP medal for that day, his performance, and tells the kid, if you keep working hard, you're not gonna be good, you're gonna be great. And the dad will tell you that changed his life. From that point on, his work ethic and how hard he worked and how hard he attacked things changed his life. So I told Cameron the story, and Cameron was like, yeah, I don't really remember that, Dad. I mean, I'm dapping the kid up. I'm like, I'm really proud of him, and he did well. He said, but I don't really remember that. And I said, that's the point. That kid remembered that. And the kid that we selected in the All-America Bowl 5 years later is there because of the words that you instilled in him. Our coaches try to do that at every level. They're trying to change the lives of those kids. That's why we do what we do.
And it's funny because I remember meeting Wesley when I think he was playing in the lower division. That's a little
Mm-hmm.
guy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So from my standpoint, and his dad has been cool with me since then, but it's to see
Yep.
where he's gone. come from since then. It's been awesome
Right.
where he's headed. I'm
I mean,
sure
this
it's
kid's 30 plus offers, man. And it started on a little field in New Jersey and Teaneck, and him coming out. And, it was, we were one of the first camps to try to reopen during COVID. We had all those crazy protocols. We had kids out there in masks. It was crazy. We had we
young
had
kids.
we had hand sanitizer between drills. I mean, we were trying to do everything we could, man, to try to get some normalcy in the lives of those kids. But that was a big deal. Yeah.
You know what? And I'm glad you mentioned it. The All American game, well, the Navy All American game.
Hmm.
Real quick, talk about how long you've been able to select a player from the show. Um,
Hmm.
I guess that is the question. How long you've been able to select a player from the show, and how has that helped next gen events in particular? Because
Right.
I've told a lot of people, um, it's a lot of it's several ways to get into that game, right? But
Hmm.
it's like one of the best ways would be to attend next gen camps,
Right.
come down to the show and show out because
Right.
one one person, you can correct me if I'm wrong, at least
Hmm.
one person will be selected.
For sure. Right.
That's a big
And
opportunity.
right. And so we view it that we've been doing this. This is our fifth year doing selections.
Okay.
Um, and and the thing that's really cool about the selection is that that's just one person. We nominate players all year long.
Okay.
The first player that we nominated this year was Traynard Roberts, the running back from IMG. And we did a feature on him, an Adidas feature on him at our Miami private pro day, and it's online now. But that was a kid that he's the number one running back in his class, and I'm not going to wait for him to come to the show to say he deserves to be in the Navy All America game. So we
Okay.
meet every month. And based on there's a committee of about seven of us, and we just talk about the players that we've seen. And so when I say that we select one, but we have 14 kids that have come through our camps that played in the game, there's
Mhm.
kids that we're constantly nominating every month. There's kids that I've been beating a table on. I'm like, listen, there's a kid who I wanted in the game early, and we're like, yeah, we need to see him. We just need to see him, and everybody sees him, and all of a sudden, boom, that kid he gets selected. And so there's a great team of individuals that have a lot of access to a lot of football. Eric Richards, who runs FBU camps, is on the committee, is the chair of the committee. Andrew Ivins, who obviously oversees 24/7. Gus Ramos, John Smith. There's some groups from
My man tonight.
Adidas. Yeah, there's some groups from Adidas. There's some groups from heck. Snoop is on the committee. So I mean, there's like players, and we're sitting there saying, hey, this is a kid. And the funny thing that I think, and I'm not taking shots at the other game. Actually, I am taking a shot at the other game. Okay, so I tell the kids. I was telling one of the kids, he's like, well, I'm trying to decide between the Under Armour game and playing in the Navy All America game. And I was like, okay, I understand that, man. I get it. Maybe you want to go to Disney, maybe
No,
And I said, what day does the Under Armour game come on? He said, I don't know. I said it comes on like Thursday afternoon in the middle of the day. So people are trying to decide between watching General Hospital or you. I mean, it just ain't the same game. It's not the same level. Now, I love the guys, and it's an incredible honor to play in either one of those games. To get selected in any All American game is great. But you can't tell me that 4 million people watching you on Saturday on NBC when it's before the first wild card game and you're the lead in, And then every time you make a play, they're going to put your social media handle up. They're going to do all of this stuff to build your brand. And at the end of the day, you're going to walk out of there with more followers, more people following you. You're going to have a stronger brand. And in this NIL world, where now we're bringing in juniors to play in the game, I mean, my goodness, I could set myself up for life if I go out and ball out on NBC, or I could be on General Hospital. In my mind, it's no choice. But I understand why. I understand why there's competition. I don't know how that segment is going to air. You might have to clean that up. I might get yelled at by some people, but I'm just being real. I mean, it's just my oldest son, when it was the Army All-America game, when they were the lead sponsor, he played in that game. And so when he was a part of the game, one of the things that I thought was cool was not just the game itself, but the tie-in to the history of the game and who's a part of the game, who's been a part. But more importantly, it was tied to the Army, our Department of Defense. Now that the Navy is a part of what we're doing and how they are bringing, this platform of, it's the best high school All-American game out there, but they're also tying in a sense of country to what we do in this era where we need to make sure that we, that across racial lines, economic lines, we need to cross all of those barriers and get rid of that and be about, playing in a game that means more or a bigger deal than just playing in a football game. I just think that is special. And no shots at the, I did take a shot at the Under Armour game. I think what they do is a great event as well. And they do a great job of selecting players. We're always, we're competing for the top prospects. Right. But I also recognize that, my pastor always said, it's a pitiful frog that doesn't praise his own pond. And so I believe the pond that I'm in is the best pond. So, that I just feel good about, touting the game that we're a part of.
I'm gonna have to use that one.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
One more question, and this might be
All
a
right.
multi-layered question. It's probably too general, but I get the question a lot, so I'm gonna ask you. What's some advice that you would give to young athletes and also parents
Yeah.
trying to navigate the recruiting process? And actually, there probably is no one that I know better than you to
Mm-hmm.
ask this question because one, I mean, you played college football and played the NFL for a long time,
Yeah.
and you have a few kids that have played Division I sports, football and
Mm-hmm.
basketball. So I'll let you handle that question.
Oh man. So, um, when I first went through the recruiting process with my oldest, I thought I knew, I've been recruited. If you're good, they're going to find you. It's a pretty simple process. I've written now 2 books on recruiting. I wrote Recruit My Son after going through Brennan's recruitment. And it just kind of talked about all the things that I learned through my experience there. And then after my daughter's experience as a basketball player, college basketball player at Penn State, I wrote Recruit My Kid. And it just kind of updated what I learned from Brennan, how the game had changed, if I tried to write a book right now, it would have to be, it'd be a dictionary because there's so much more to this recruiting process than any other time. And I tell parents at the beginning of our event, I really feel sorry for you. I feel that from a football standpoint, you guys are in the most challenging era of recruiting in the history of recruiting, and largely because of NIL and the transfer portal. So my biggest worry with what we do with the transfer portal is we're creating kids and giving them an easy out and making it easy for them to quit and say, I don't like the meal plan at Wasamata U, so I'm going over here. I'm going to a different school. I don't like this. So I get concerned about that as a part of it. But then I also recognize every rule that college football has made over the last, say, 3, 4 years has suppressed or put more pressure or more obstacles in front of the high school athlete. So it used to be, and I have some good friends in the industry that I talk to all the time. When the transfer portal first came out, the guy who recruited Brennan to North Carolina was at the University of Maryland. And I'm talking to him and he's explaining to me, he said, yeah, our coach said, we got 25 kids coming in this year. We're going to save 3 kids for the transfer portal to fill in spots where we might have holes, but we're going to bring in 22 high school kids, 3 transfer portal. The next 2 years, it changed. They went to 17 high school kids and 8 transfer portal. Now you're seeing staffs flip it upside down. And I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm saying that these are the rules that allow it. You're seeing college programs bring in 5 kids from high school and 20 transfer portal kids. You add that to now I can go to junior college and it doesn't count against my 4 years of playing. So I can go to junior college, 2 years, get my associate's degree, and now I'm competing as a 20-year-old against a 17 or 18-year-old for the same scholarship. That's challenging or making it harder for the high school kid. So your short question, my long answer is really this. Parents need to educate themselves on all of the different variables that can impact their child's recruiting. There's less than 10% of the kids in this country that are not impacted by, in some way, the transfer portal or NIL. That my kid is absolutely just so good, he can pick any school. We had a NXGN alumni kid commit today. Tyler Atkinson out of Georgia committed to the University of Texas. The kid came to our camp when he was in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, and he's the number 1 linebacker in the country. He can pick any school that he wants to go to, and NIL and transfer portal stuff doesn't matter. Not every kid is at that level. And I always say to parents, one of the other things that's an impact, and I deal with this at the kids that come to our camps. Your kid might not be good enough for a school to recruit your son if the parent doesn't know how to act. If the parent acts a fool, there's like less than 1% that they don't want to deal with that. And I say to parents all the time, if you're trying to figure out whether or not your kid is good enough to be recruited, even though you don't know how to act, you say whatever you want to say, you are disrespectful, then if you're trying to figure it out, then he ain't the one. Because if he was, you would already know. It's that simple. You would already know. And in this day and age where they're offering millions of dollars, you would know. So I say this first, educate yourself. Understand all of the variables that are in play that will impact your sons or daughters, in some cases, recruiting. The other issue that I would say is to make sure you do everything you can to put your son in a position to gain exposure. Not every camp is an exposure camp. If you go to a camp and you don't have an assigned number, they just throw you out there, no jersey, just a t-shirt, and they call themselves an exposure camp. There's teaching camps that can teach you. I'm not saying that, but if you're an exposure camp, I need to know that kid's name, number. I need to know what his measurables are. Where's this data going after this event? Is it going to sit on the camp director's laptop, or is it getting in the hands of a college recruiter ultimately that can help get my son recruited? Where is the data going? And all those questions need to be asked before you invest your money, attend a camp. I don't care if it's a free camp. It doesn't matter. Don't waste your time. If they say they're an exposure camp, what is my kid being exposed to? Where's the data going? Are you videoing this? Are we just going to try to remember what he did and have you describe it to somebody? Or is somebody there that is videoing everything my kid did so that when it gets sent out, they get to see how my son performed at that event? Ask yourself those questions.
That was an excellent answer,
Uh,
and I
Teed it up for
appreciate
me.
you.
That was easy. Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be an awesome bit. But hey, B-Dub, I truly appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. Let me know that date in January, because
You got it.
I'll be available.
We're
But hey,
locked
I
in.
also want to thank you for I'm gonna touch on this real quick. All I know is that back in 2015, when we first started talking, and you
Hmm.
were telling me about your camps, and we finally got together. I really don't think there were too many other camps. I'm not going to count rivals that were
Yep.
having writers come to their camps to cover the events and
Right.
write the articles and help these kids get exposure. I think first I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to travel, um, touch the lives of different kids from all over the country, see different things, meet
Hmm.
great coaches, and just have a great experience. I'm very grateful to that, and I know we got a whole bunch more camps to go, but I've always wanted to thank you for
Absolutely.
that.
No,
Appreciate
much
the opportunity.
appreciated. You know what? You're as big a part of this camp as anyone who's ever been a part of it. You're part of the family. You're in the gang too, so you can't jump
Yeah,
out either. So the thing that I will say is very early on, and I've been touched by some great writers and people that really are passionate about what they do. I don't think anyone that we've come across has the passion and care about this part of the business like you do. And so I recognize very early on the importance of writers from Rivals, from On Three, from 247, from Prep Red Zone, from whoever covers us, QB Hitless, whoever comes out and is willing to cover our events. I realize that there's so many different ways for kids to be seen that all of those articles and you telling those kids stories, not just their story as an elite player at a game, at a camp, but you dig behind that and talk about who the young man is as a person, what motivates. I think that that's really powerful. And as we are looking to, to create opportunities for kids to be seen and gain exposure, we realize as we're working with verified athletics now, where all of our data goes to them. All of that data gets put with the videos from our camps. That goes to like 300 schools at all different levels. And one of the things that they've talked about is looking at what we gather and what we do and how to differentiate that. And I'm just like, dude, look at the articles that these guys write. Look at the stories that are told on these kids. Look at the events that they go to. You will gain a real appreciation for how competitive these kids are. One of the challenges that my son, who's the scout, Cameron says, he said, it's hard to find kids that want to compete, Dad. It really is. And as soon as a challenge comes up, then they may want to transfer. We've got to evaluate, why did you transfer? Why did you make that move? Is this kid going to want to transfer out of training camp when he gets here? We don't we all of those things we're building into these kids. And so I appreciate everything you do. I appreciate the opportunity to share the vision of Next Gen and what we're going to do. I can't wait for 2026. Some of the things that we'll do in 2026, it will literally blow the doors off of this industry. And I'm really excited about what we're doing, how we're able to touch and change the lives of these young men that come through our camps. And I can't wait for, the camp season to get started. I'm still down and taking my break, but can't wait for the next events to get ready to get going. So we'll start having the dates pop up and get ready to roll, man. Can't wait.
All right, B double. Hey, enjoy the rest of your rest time for now. Say hello to
Peace,
your
man.
wife for me, and
Absolutely.
I'll get back to work on these articles. But hey, thanks again for coming on the podcast, and I know I'll talk to you soon.
You got it, brother. Be blessed, man.
I love
Thank you.